I was home with our sick baby while my wife went out for one drink. Then her friend texted. She left with her ex. And suddenly I realized. I remember sitting on the edge of our bed, staring at that message while our youngest daughter slept with a fever patch on her forehead. Our older daughter had finally stopped asking for water and gone quiet in her room. And my wife still was not home. Grace had told me it was just one drink. One drink with old friends. One quick night out because she had been overwhelmed and needed to feel human again. That was the phrase she kept using lately. Human. Like being home with me and our daughters had turned her into something else. At first, I tried not to take it personally. We had 2 little girls. Hazel was 3, and Ivy was 16 months. Our life was loud, messy, and repetitive. Most days were diapers, snacks, laundry, toys on the floor, half-finished coffee, and conversations interrupted by someone crying over socks, cartoons, or the wrong cup. I knew Grace was tired. I was tired too. But motherhood had hit her differently after Ivy was born. She still loved the girls. I never doubted that. She was gentle with them, patient in ways I was not, and she had this soft bedtime voice that could calm both of them when I had already failed twice. But when the girls were asleep, Grace disappeared into herself. She would sit beside me on the couch and scroll without really looking at anything. Sometimes I asked if she was okay, and she would say, "I'm fine," in that flat voice that meant she was anything but fine. One night, while I was cleaning food off the kitchen floor, she leaned against the counter and said, "I don't even know who I am anymore." I looked up. "What do you mean?" She gave this sad little laugh. "I mean I'm just mom now. I'm your wife. I'm the person who remembers diapers and doctor appointments. I don't feel like me." I did not know the perfect answer. I wish I had. I wish I had said something deep enough to make her feel seen without giving her permission to run from us. Instead, I said, "Then take some time. Go out. See your friends. I can handle the girls." And I meant it. I wanted her to breathe. I wanted my wife to feel like a person again because I loved her. I did not realize I was opening a door she had already been staring at. At first, it was small. Coffee with Kayla. Dinner with Molly. Old high school friends suddenly showing up in a group chat again. I knew a few of them from birthdays and cookouts, but they were Grace's old world, not mine. Then Luke's name started showing up. Luke was her ex from before me. According to Grace, it was nothing serious. Teenage drama. A few months in high school. A messy breakup. Nothing that mattered anymore. The first time she mentioned he was in the group again, I tried to keep my face neutral. "Luke is going too?" I asked. Grace rolled her eyes. "Oh my God, don't start. He's just an old friend now. I'm not starting anything. You're doing the voice." "What voice?" "The husband voice." I smiled because I did not want to fight. "I just asked." She stepped closer, put her hand on my chest, and said, "He's harmless. Honestly, he's like family at this point." That sentence stayed with me. Like family. I wanted to believe her. I told myself that if I acted suspicious every time her ex existed in the same room, I would become the kind of husband I never wanted to be. I did not want to control her. I did not want to punish her for having a past. So I swallowed the discomfort. The problem was, the more understanding I tried to be, the more Grace seemed to test how far that understanding would stretch. Her nights out got longer. Her phone started facing down more often. She smiled at messages and locked the screen when I walked into the room. If I asked who it was, she said, "The group chat." Like that explained everything. Maybe I still would have ignored it if Ivy had not gotten sick that Friday. It started in the afternoon. She was clingy, warm, and miserable. By dinner, her cheeks were red, and she would not eat anything except a few bites of applesauce. Hazel kept trying to help by bringing toys, which only made Ivy cry harder. Grace had plans that night. Drinks downtown with Kayla, Molly, Brad, Luke, and a few others. She had been talking about it all week. I assumed she would cancel. That sounds stupid now, but I did. Ivy was sick. Hazel was cranky. I thought Grace would look at our feverish baby and say, "I'll stay home." Instead, around 7, she walked into the bedroom wearing jeans, a black top, and earrings she had not worn in months. I was sitting on the bed with Ivy against my chest, patting her back while she whimpered into my shirt. Grace stood in front of the mirror and fixed her hair. I said, "You're still going?" She paused, but only for a second. "Just for one drink." I looked down at Ivy. "She's not feeling good." "I know," Grace said. "But she's calm with you." That hit me strangely. "She's calm because I've been holding her for an hour." Grace turned around. "Dean, please don't make me feel guilty. I'm not trying to." "You are. I've been looking forward to this all week." I should have said more. I should have told her I needed help, not because I could not handle my own children, but because we were supposed to be a team. Instead, I looked at Ivy's flushed face and told myself one drink was not worth a fight. So I said, "Okay. Just keep your phone on." Grace softened. She came over, kissed Ivy's head, then kissed me quickly. "I won't be late," she said. At the door, Hazel came running from the hallway in her pajamas. "Mommy, where are you going?" Grace crouched and hugged her. Mommy's just seeing friends for a little bit. Can I come? Not tonight, baby. Then she left. The first couple of hours were normal. Ivy dozed on and off. Hazel fought bedtime like she had a legal case to win. I cleaned up dinner, gave Ivy medicine, checked her temperature, and texted Grace at 9:12. How's it going? She replied almost 20 minutes later. Good. Just talking. Ivy okay? I wrote. Still warm but sleeping. She sent a heart. At 10:18, she texted. Might stay a little longer. Don't wait up. I stared at that message longer than I should have. Don't wait up. I typed. You said 1 drink? Then I erased it. I typed. Ivy has a fever. Then I erased that too, because she already knew. Finally I wrote. Okay. Be safe. She did not respond. By midnight Hazel had woken up crying from a bad dream. Ivy woke up because Hazel was crying. I ended up sitting on the floor between their rooms with Ivy in my lap and Hazel leaning against my shoulder, both of them half asleep, both needing me at the same time. That is parenthood in one image. 2 small people trusting you completely while you are barely holding yourself together. I checked my phone again at 12:26. No text. I called Grace once. It rang and rang, then voicemail. I checked her location. We shared locations for safety, not because we watched each other. Hers was unavailable. At first, I told myself her phone had died. Then I remembered telling her to keep it on. I remembered the way she promised she would not be late. I remembered Luke's name in that group chat. My stomach started turning. At 1:41 I texted. Are you okay? Nothing. At 2:03 I called again. Nothing. By then Ivy was asleep in her crib, Hazel had settled again, and I was standing in the kitchen with all the lights off except the stove light. Every time a car passed, I looked toward the window. I hated myself for it. I felt pathetic, like some jealous husband waiting to catch his wife doing something wrong. But I was not trying to catch her. I was trying to understand why she was making me feel crazy. She came home at 3:18 in the morning. I know the exact time because I looked at the microwave clock when I heard her key in the lock. She stepped inside quietly, like she was hoping the house would be asleep. Her hair was messier than when she left. Her makeup was smudged under one eye. She smelled like alcohol and perfume, but there was something else too. Not cologne exactly. Just outside. Bar air. Someone else's car. A night I had not been part of. She froze when she saw me in the kitchen. Why are you awake? She whispered. I almost laughed. Seriously? She shut the door behind her. I told you not to wait up. And I told you Ivy was sick. She's asleep, isn't she? That was the first moment I felt something cold move through me. Not anger. Not yet. Just cold. I said. Where were you? She set her purse on the counter and looked away. Out. Out where? With everyone. Your location was off. My phone died. It rang when I called. She blinked, and for 1 second, panic crossed her face. Then she recovered. It was almost dead. Then it died. Then I charged it in someone's car for a few minutes. I don't know, Dean. I wasn't staring at my phone all night. Too many details. Too fast. Too defensive. I asked. Was Luke there? Her face changed. She did not look guilty exactly. She looked offended that I had found the right door. Oh my God, she said. Of course that's what this is. I asked a question. You always do this. No, I don't. Yes, you do. You take something normal and twist it until it's ugly. I looked at her standing there at 3:18 in the morning, after leaving me home with our sick baby, ignoring my calls, and turning off her location. Somehow, I was the one making it ugly. I said, I'm asking where my wife was. She grabbed her purse. I'm not doing this right now. Then she walked past me. I followed her down the hallway, keeping my voice low because the girls were asleep. Grace. She stopped outside Ivy's room. For a second, she looked in at our baby. Ivy was curled on her side, cheeks still pink from fever, one hand tucked under her chin. Grace's face softened. She went inside, leaned over the crib, and kissed Ivy's head. That image messed with me. Because I loved that version of her. The mother who could not pass the crib without touching our daughter's hair. The woman who whispered, I love you, baby. Like it was a prayer. Then she came back out, walked into the bathroom, and turned on the shower. I stood in the hallway listening to the water run, and I knew something was wrong. I did not sleep that night. By morning, she was acting normal. Too normal. She made pancakes for Hazel. She asked if I wanted coffee. She called me babe in that soft voice she used when she wanted to smooth over something without admitting there was anything to smooth over. Hazel sat at the table, happily smearing syrup across her plate. Ivy was still tired, but her fever had gone down. Grace moved around the kitchen like nothing had happened. I watched her pour coffee and wondered how many people had done this exact thing. Sat across from someone they loved, watching them act ordinary, while some part of their brain whispered, ask again. Push harder. Something happened. But I did not push. Partly because the girls were there. Partly because I was scared of the answer. And partly because Grace looked so calm that I started wondering if maybe I had overreacted. Maybe she was drunk. Maybe her phone really was dying. Maybe Luke being there meant nothing. Maybe the shower meant nothing. Maybe I was tired and insecure. That is the dangerous thing about loving someone. You help them explain away the knife while it is still in your back. Saturday passed in a fog. Grace was affectionate, but not relaxed. She touched my arm more than usual. She asked if I was okay at least 4 times. She offered to handle bedtime even though Ivy was still clingy with me. Around dinner, I saw her phone light up on the counter. She grabbed it too quickly. I did not say anything. Later that night, after the girls were asleep, I asked, "Did anything happen last night that I should know about?" Grace was folding laundry on the bed. She did not look up. "No." "Are you sure?" She snapped too fast. "Dean, I already told you. I went out. I had drinks. I came home. That's it." "With Luke?" "With the group." "That's not what I asked?" She threw a tiny pajama shirt into the basket. "I'm not doing this again." "Why are you so defensive?" "Because you're treating me like I cheated when I didn't do anything." I stared at her. She stared back. And I wanted to believe her so badly that I let the conversation die. Sunday was worse because she relaxed. I think she believed she had survived it. She took Hazel to the grocery store. She bought Ivy the fruit pouches she liked. She kissed my cheek while passing me in the hallway. She even joked that we should watch a movie after the girls went down, like we were just a normal couple having a normal weekend. By 8:30 that night, both girls were finally asleep. Grace went upstairs to give them a bath, and I stayed in our bedroom folding laundry. My phone buzzed. It was Kayla. I knew Kayla, but not well. She was one of Grace's old friends. Friendly enough in person, but not someone who messaged me privately. Her message said, "I'm sorry. I know this isn't my place, but I can't stop thinking about Friday." I sat down on the bed. My thumb hovered over the screen. I wrote, "What about Friday?" She started typing. Then stopped. Then started again. I could hear Grace in the bathroom, laughing softly as Hazel splashed water. She was singing the silly bath song we made up when Hazel was a baby. The same song she always sang when the girls were restless. My phone buzzed again. Kayla wrote, "Grace left the bar with her ex. I don't know exactly what happened after, but she went to his apartment." "I thought she told you." Everything in me went quiet. I read the message once. Then again. The words did not change. She left the bar with her ex. She went to his apartment. "I thought she told you." I looked toward the bathroom door. Grace was still singing. Hazel was giggling. Ivy made a sleepy little sound. I remember thinking, absurdly, that I needed to finish folding the laundry. Maybe because if I stopped moving I would break. Maybe because the tiny pajamas in my hands were the only real thing in the room. I asked Kayla. "Who saw?" She replied, "Most of us." That hurt almost as much as the cheating. Most of us. Not one person. Not a misunderstanding in a dark parking lot. Not a rumor. An entire group of people watched my wife leave with another man while I was home checking our baby's temperature and answering our toddler's questions about why mommy was not back yet. I asked, "Was she drunk?" Kayla wrote, "She had drinks, but she knew what she was doing." My throat closed. Another message came in. Luke kept touching her waist. She didn't move away. They went outside for a while. When they came back, Molly told her it was a bad idea. Grace said she just needed to talk to him. Then they left together. I stared at that last line. She just needed to talk to him. I thought about Grace telling me she had lost herself. I thought about all the space I gave her. All the nights I handled bedtime so she could feel human again. And then I thought about her using that space to walk into her ex's apartment. Kayla sent one more message. "I'm sorry. I should have said something sooner." I did not answer because Grace came into the bedroom wrapped in her robe, hair damp around her face, holding Ivy's sleep lotion. She saw me sitting on the bed. "What's wrong?" she asked. I looked at her, and for a second I could not speak. This was the mother of my children. The woman who knew how I took my coffee. The woman whose hand I held through 2 deliveries. The woman I had trusted with every weak, ugly, honest part of myself. And she had let me stand in our kitchen like a fool. She had let me ask. She had watched me doubt myself. I put my phone down on the bed. Then I said, "Did you go to Luke's apartment Friday night?" Grace froze. Not confused. Not shocked. Frozen. Her eyes moved from my face to my phone and back again. Then she whispered, "Who told you?" And that was when I knew. Because an innocent person says, "What are you talking about?" An innocent person says, "No." An innocent person does not ask who opened the door she had been trying to keep shut. I said, "Answer me." Grace's eyes filled with tears instantly, like she had been waiting for permission to cry. "Dean, did you go to his apartment?" She sat down slowly on the edge of the bed. "I didn't mean for it to happen like that." I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, but because my brain could not take that sentence seriously. "What does that mean?" "It was a bad night. I was drinking. I felt overwhelmed. He was just listening to me. You left with him. She covered her face. I know. You turned your location off. My phone. Do not say your phone died. She dropped her hands. Tears ran down her face. For once, she had nothing ready. I said, I was home with Ivy while she was sick. I know. I called you. I know. You came home at 3 in the morning and lied to my face. She started crying harder. I panicked. No. You planned. Panic is when something happens too fast. You had the ride home. You had the walk from the car to the door. You had the shower. You had all of Saturday. You had all of today. She shook her head. It wasn't like that. Then tell me what it was like. She looked down at her hands. That silence was worse than any confession. I asked, Did you sleep with him? She said, No. Too fast. I said, Did you kiss him? She closed her eyes. My chest tightened. Grace. She whispered. Yes. I looked away because I could not look at her mouth after that. She said, It was just kissing. Just? I know it was wrong. What else? Nothing. What else? Nothing, Dean. I stared at her until she broke. She wiped her face and said, I don't remember every single second clearly. There it was. The fog. The convenient missing piece. I said, You remember enough to say nothing happened. She did not answer. You remember enough to hide it. Still nothing. You remember enough to ask who told me. She whispered. Please stop. I stood up because sitting near her felt impossible. No, Grace. You don't get to make me the cruel one because I'm saying out loud what you did. She started sobbing. I made a mistake. A mistake is forgetting to lock the door. You left a bar with your ex while your husband was home with your sick baby. Please don't say it like that. How else should I say it? She looked at me, broken and angry at the same time, like she hated me for making the truth sound ugly. And maybe that was when I understood how bad it really was. Not the kiss. Not even the apartment. It was the fact that she still wanted control over the wording. She wanted soft words for a hard betrayal. She wanted confused instead of selfish. Overwhelmed instead of dishonest. I made a mistake instead of I chose him while you were home with our daughters. I heard Hazel cough from her room, and both of us froze. Grace wiped her face quickly like our 3-year-old might walk in and ask why mommy was crying. That was our life now. Whispered devastation between bath time and bedtime. I said quietly, Go sleep in the guest room. Her face crumpled. Dean, please. Not tonight. I love you. I wanted that sentence to matter. I really did. But all I could think was that she probably loved me when she turned off her location too. She probably loved me when she kissed him. She probably loved me when she came home and lied. And suddenly love did not feel like enough. Grace picked up her pillow with shaking hands and walked out. I stayed in our bedroom, sitting beside Ivy's monitor, listening to my wife cry down the hall and our daughters sleep through the first night of a broken home they did not know they were living in. The next morning, Grace acted like someone trying to repair a house while it was still on fire. She woke up before me, made coffee, packed Hazel's daycare bag, and put Ivy's medicine on the counter with a sticky note that said, Next dose at 9. She moved carefully around the kitchen, like sudden sounds might make me remember what she had done. I was already remembering. I remembered every time I looked at her. Her face was puffy from crying. Her hair was tied back. She looked tired and ashamed, and part of me hated that I still wanted to comfort her. If I had stopped loving her overnight, maybe it would have been easy. Maybe I could have packed her bags, called her mother, and told everyone exactly what happened. But I still loved her. I loved the woman pouring cereal for Hazel. I loved the woman checking Ivy's forehead with the back of her hand. I loved the woman whispering, Careful, baby, when Hazel almost spilled orange juice. And I hated the woman who left with Luke. Both versions stood in the same kitchen. Hazel looked between us while eating breakfast. Kids are not stupid. They do not understand adult betrayal, but they understand when the air changes. She asked, Daddy, are you mad? Grace stopped moving. I forced my voice to sound normal. No, sweetheart. Just tired. Hazel looked at Grace. Mommy cried? Grace wiped the counter even though it was already clean. Mommy's okay. Hazel accepted that because she was 3, and 3-year-olds still believe adults when they say the world is fine. I wished I could. After daycare drop-off, Grace followed me into the living room. Can we talk? She asked. I did not sit down. Sitting felt too intimate. She stood near the couch, twisting her wedding ring around her finger. That ring suddenly looked like a prop. She said, I want to tell you everything. I said, Then tell me. She said they went to the bar. She had 2 drinks, maybe 3. Luke asked if she was okay. She told him she felt overwhelmed. He said he remembered when she used to be fun. That sentence landed hard. I said, And that worked? She flinched. It wasn't like that. It sounds exactly like that. He made me feel seen. I laughed once, sharp and ugly. I was holding our sick baby at home so you could go out. But he made you feel seen? She looked down. I know how bad it sounds. No. You know how bad it makes you look. That's different. She said they went outside to talk because the music was loud. Luke hugged her. She cried. Then he kissed her first. I stopped her there. Did you kiss him back? She closed her mouth. I nodded. Okay. I did, she whispered. But I stopped it. You stopped it, and then went to his apartment? Her shoulders sank. She said Luke offered to drive her home because she was emotional. Then somehow they stopped at his apartment because he said he needed to grab his jacket. I stared at her while she said it, and halfway through, her voice got smaller. I said, Grace. She covered her face. I know. No. Say it straight. She dropped her hands. I went there because I wanted to. That was the first fully honest thing she said. It hurt more than a lie, but at least it was real. She said they kissed again in his apartment. They sat on his couch. He told her she deserved to feel wanted. She cried and left. She swore they did not sleep together. I wanted to believe that. I also knew wanting to believe something was not the same as believing it. I asked, Why did you turn off your location? She said nothing. Grace. I didn't want you to see where I was. Simple. Quiet. Brutal. No dead phone. No charger in someone's car. No confusion. She turned it off because she knew. I walked into the kitchen because I needed space. She followed me. I was scared. She said. You were scared after you chose it. I know. You keep saying that. Because I do know. I know I ruined something. Something. That word almost made me snap. I turned around. You didn't ruin something. You betrayed me. You left me home with our daughters while one of them was sick, and you went to your ex's apartment. Then you came back and made me feel crazy for asking questions. She cried again, but quietly this time. I asked for her phone. She handed it over immediately, like she had been expecting it. Maybe she thought it would help. Maybe she had already cleaned it. Maybe she was too tired to fight. I checked her messages with Luke. Some were there. Not enough. There was a message from Luke on Saturday morning. You okay? Grace had replied. I feel horrible. Luke wrote. I won't say anything. Grace replied. Please don't. I stared at those 4 messages for a long time. Then I checked the dates before Friday. There were gaps. Whole spaces where conversations should have been. In the group chat, I saw inside jokes I did not understand, references to nights I had not heard about, and one message from Luke from 2 weeks earlier that said, You still owe me that real talk. I looked up. Grace was standing in the doorway, pale. I said, You deleted messages. She whispered. Some? Why? Because I knew they looked bad. Did they look bad, or were they bad? She did not answer. I handed the phone back because if I held it any longer, I was going to throw it across the room. Not at her. Just through the wall. Through the life we used to have. I said, I'm taking the girls to my parents' house for the weekend. Her head snapped up. What? I need space. You can go, but please don't take them. That sentence told me more than she meant it to. I said, You went where you wanted Friday night. I'm going where I need to go now. That's not fair. No. None of this is fair. She stepped closer. Dean, please. I can't be alone in this house without them. I looked at her and felt something colder than anger. You should have thought about being alone in this house before you left it. She looked like I had slapped her. I packed 2 small bags while Grace stood in the hallway crying. Hazel asked if we were going to Grandma's, and I said yes. She cheered because Grandma had a cookie jar and a backyard swing. Ivy was still clingy and tired, so I carried her against my chest while Grace packed her stuffed rabbit without looking at me. At the door, Grace crouched and hugged Hazel too tightly. Hazel squirmed. Mommy, I can't breathe. Grace let go and kissed her hair. Then she reached for Ivy, but Ivy turned into my shoulder. Grace broke. She whispered. Please call me tonight. I said. I'll let you talk to them. The drive to my parents' house felt longer than it was. Hazel sang in the back seat for the first 20 minutes, then fell asleep with her head tilted sideways. Ivy slept almost the whole way, one tiny hand wrapped around her blanket. I kept looking at them in the rearview mirror and feeling like I had failed them. That was irrational. I know that. I did not choose this. I did not walk into another person's apartment. I did not lie. But when a family breaks, the innocent person still has to carry pieces. My parents knew something was wrong the second I pulled into their driveway. My mom opened the door before I even knocked. She took one look at my face and said, Oh, honey. I nearly lost it right there. My dad came out behind her, looked at the girls, then at me, and did not ask questions in front of them. That was my dad. Quiet first. Steady later. My mom took Hazel to the kitchen for cookies. My sister Daisy came over after I called her, and she took Ivy from me so I could finally sit down without a child in my arms. Then my dad and I went out to the back porch. I told him everything. Not dramatically. Not cleanly. I kept stopping. I kept correcting myself. I kept saying, I don't know. Even when I did know. I told him about the bar, the location, the apartment, the messages, and the way Grace asked who told me. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, he looked out at the yard for a while. Then he said, "Don't make a decision while you're bleeding." I hated that advice in the moment. I wanted him to tell me to leave. I wanted someone older and calmer to give me permission to blow up my life. I wanted him to say, "Pack her things. You're done." Instead, he said, "You don't have to forgive her today. You don't have to decide today either." My sister was less calm. When I told Daisy, she said, "I'm sorry, but no. She left with her ex while Ivy was sick? That's not just cheating. That's rotten. My mom told her not to make it worse." Daisy snapped, "It is worse." And honestly, I was grateful someone said it. That night, Grace FaceTimed the girls. She smiled too hard and cried after Hazel said, "Mommy, why are you sad?" Grace told her she missed her. Hazel told her grandma made cookies. Ivy mostly tried to grab the phone. After the call, Grace texted me, "Can we talk when they're asleep?" I waited until both girls were down, then called her. She answered on the first ring. "I'm so sorry," she said. I said nothing. She said she had called a counselor. She said she would never speak to Luke again. She said she blocked him. She said she left the group chat. She said she would do anything. I asked, "Would you have told me if Kayla hadn't?" Silence. That silence answered me again. She whispered, "I don't know. At least it was honest." I said, "That might be worse than no." She said, "I was scared you'd leave. So you lied to keep me?" I panicked. I closed my eyes. "Stop using that word." She cried softly into the phone. Then she said, "I didn't sleep with him." I said, "I don't know how to believe you." "I'll prove it." "How?" "I don't know. But I will." That was the problem. There was no proof that could give me back the version of her I had before Friday. No screenshot could unmake the apartment. No apology could put me back in that kitchen before 3:18 a.m., when I still thought my wife was just late. The next morning, Grace's mother called. I almost did not answer, but part of me wanted to know what version Grace had told her. She did not ask how I was. She started with, "Dean, you need to think about the girls." I stared at my parents' kitchen wall. "I am thinking about the girls. Taking them away from their mother is not the answer. I took them to my parents for the weekend. I didn't take them to another country." She made a mistake. That word again. I said, "Did she tell you what the mistake was?" Silence. I said, "She went to her ex's apartment while Ivy was sick and I was home with both girls." She said nothing happened. "She kissed him." Another silence. Then she said, "Marriage is hard." I laughed because if I did not laugh, I would say something unforgivable. "Yes. Marriage is hard. That's why most people don't make it harder by leaving with their ex." She told me I had every right to be hurt. Then she told me not to destroy my family over one bad night. I said, "Grace did that. Not me." She said, "You still have a choice." That was the line everyone kept circling around. My choice. As if my choice started after the betrayal. As if her choices were weather, and mine were the only ones with consequences. Later that day, Grace's father called me. He was not emotional. He just said, "I'm sorry, Dean. She was wrong." That was all. Strangely, that helped more than her mother's whole speech. Meanwhile, the story started spreading through the friend group. Kayla told Molly she had told me. Molly told Grace. Brad apparently told Luke to stay away because the whole thing was turning ugly. Then Luke's girlfriend found out. I do not know exactly how. Maybe Kayla told her. Maybe Molly did. Maybe Luke was just as bad at hiding guilt as Grace. But by Sunday night, Grace texted me. "Nina knows." Then another message came in. "Luke is furious." I should not have felt anything good about that. But I did. Not joy exactly. Just a small, bitter relief that I was not the only one whose home got cracked open by their selfishness. Luke had gone back to his life too. He had kissed my wife, let her beg him not to say anything, and probably expected his own girlfriend to keep smiling at him across dinner. Now she knew. Now he had to answer questions too. Grace wrote. "Everyone is talking." I replied. "They were already talking. I was just the last one included." She did not respond after that. On Monday, I took the girls back home because I did not want them confused longer than necessary. Grace was waiting in the driveway when we pulled up. She looked smaller somehow, like the weekend had taken something out of her. Hazel ran to her, and Grace dropped to her knees and hugged her. I carried Ivy inside. The house felt different. Same toys. Same couch. Same dishes in the cabinet. But everything had a shadow now. For the next few days, Grace slept in the guest room. We spoke politely in front of the girls and barely at all after they went to bed. She started counseling alone. She sent me the appointment confirmation without me asking. She also gave me every password. Phone. Email. Social media. Everything. I looked through some of it, then stopped. Because I hated who I became while searching. I hated checking timestamps. I hated wondering if a deleted thread meant more. I hated looking at photos from nights out and zooming in on her face like I might find the exact moment she stopped choosing me. One night, Grace stood outside our bedroom door and asked if she could come in. I said yes. She sat at the edge of the bed, not too close. "I know I don't deserve anything from you," she said. "But I need you to know I'm not trying to minimize it anymore." I waited. She took a shaky breath. "I like the attention. That's the truth. I liked feeling like someone saw me as more than a tired mom. And instead of talking to you honestly, I let myself enjoy it. Then Friday happened, and I kept making selfish choices because admitting the first one felt too ugly." That was probably the clearest thing she had said. I asked, "Do you love him?" She looked horrified. "No." "Did you think about leaving me for him?" "No." "Then what was the point?" She cried, but she answered, "I wanted to feel wanted without thinking about what it would cost." I sat with that for a long time. Because that was the whole thing, wasn't it? She wanted a feeling. I got the cost. A week later, we went to one marriage counseling session. I did not go because I had decided to stay. I went because my dad's voice was still in my head, telling me not to decide while bleeding. I wanted to know what I was choosing before I chose it. The counselor asked Grace to explain what happened without softening it. Grace cried, but she did it. She said, "I left my husband at home with our sick daughter and went to my ex's apartment. I kissed him. I lied about it. I would not have told the truth if my friend hadn't told him first." Hearing it out loud in the quiet office did something to me. It did not heal me. But it made the fog clear. The counselor asked me what I needed. I said, "I need to stop feeling like I'm being punished for reacting to what she did." Grace looked down. I said, "Everyone keeps asking if I'm going to break up the family. I didn't bring another person into this. I didn't turn off my location. I didn't make our home feel unsafe. But somehow I'm the one holding the grenade now." No one spoke for a moment. Then Grace said, "You're right." Not defensively. Not quickly. Just quietly. And that was the first time I believed she understood at least part of it. We are not magically okay. I wish this had a cleaner ending. I wish I could say I filed for divorce, got a perfect apartment, and watched Grace regret everything while I became some upgraded version of myself. I also wish I could say love conquered everything and we rebuilt stronger than ever. The truth is messier. Grace is still in the guest room. We are still going to counseling. I have spoken to someone about what separation would look like, not because I have decided, but because I refuse to be ignorant about my own life. Grace knows that. She cried when I told her, but she did not argue. Luke and Nina broke up. I heard that through Kayla, who apologized again and then said she was stepping away from the whole group. Molly sent me one message saying she should have stopped Grace harder. I did not answer. Brad has not contacted me at all. Grace has no contact with Luke now. She blocked him, left the group chat, and deleted the app she used to message him. That may sound good, but honestly, it feels like locking every window after someone already walked through the front door. The calm victory, if there is one, is that I no longer feel crazy. For 2 days, I let Grace's calm voice make me doubt my own instincts. I let her call me suspicious. I let myself wonder if I was turning into someone controlling just because I asked normal questions. Now I know I was not crazy. I was noticing the smoke before I saw the fire. A few nights ago, Hazel asked why Mommy sleeps in the other room. Grace froze, and I felt my chest tighten because there is no good answer for a 3-year-old. I told Hazel, "Mommy and Daddy are figuring out some grown-up things, but we both love you and Ivy." Hazel thought about that, then asked if grown-up things needed snacks. I almost cried. Grace did cry. After Hazel went to bed, Grace stood in the hallway and whispered, "I hate what I did to us." I said, "I do too." She asked, "Do you think you'll ever forgive me?" I did not answer right away. Because I do not know. Some days I look at her and see my wife. The woman who held my hand in the hospital. The woman who knows every little thing our daughters love. The woman who used to fall asleep with her foot touching mine like she needed to know I was there. Other days I see the door of Luke's apartment. I see her turning off her location. I see her walking into our kitchen at 3:18 a.m. and acting offended that I dared to ask where she had been. I see Kayla's message. She left with her ex. I thought she told you. That is the part that keeps replaying. Not just what Grace did, but the fact that I had to be told by someone else. My wife did not hand me the truth. It had to be dragged into our house by a woman who could not sleep with the secret. And maybe that is where I am stuck. If Grace had come home and confessed, maybe I would feel differently. Hurt, yes. Angry, yes. But maybe there would be one clean piece of respect left. Instead, she lied until the lie stopped working. I have not left yet. I have not fully stayed either. I am living in the space between those two choices, and it is the loneliest place I have ever been. But I am not rushing anymore. I am not letting her mother guilt me. I am not letting friends, family, or fear decide for me. I am not staying just because divorce is painful, and I am not leaving just because pride wants a dramatic ending. For now, I am watching her actions. Not her tears. Not her promises. Not her panic. Her actions. Grace says she wants to rebuild. Maybe she does. Maybe she is finally seeing the damage clearly. Maybe one day I will look at her and not feel my stomach drop. Maybe one day our daughters will never remember this season except as a quiet stretch where mommy slept in the guest room and daddy looked tired. Or maybe this is already over, and I am just waiting for my heart to catch up with what my body knew the moment she asked. Who told you? I still love her. That is the ugliest part. Love does not switch off because someone betrays you. It just gets trapped under the rubble, still alive, still making noise, still making you question whether walking away is strength or surrender. But I love myself more than I did that night. I love my daughters enough to want a home built on truth, not silence. And I know now that keeping a family together at any cost can become its own kind of damage. So I am asking honestly, because I still do not know what the right answer is. If your wife left you home with your sick baby, went to her ex's apartment, kissed him, lied until someone else exposed her, and then begged to rebuild, would you try to save the marriage for the kids, or would that one night be enough to walk away?